Hello everyone, my name is William Todd Rose, aka ACIDGRASS, and this is my commentary for my Nosferatu score. This truly was a labor of love. The idea to rescore the movie came to me when I wanted to watch it one night, and the only version I had a horrible score to it. It was like someone had just taken stock music and just put it in willy-nilly. It didn't match the scenes, and it kind of pissed me off because this is a great movie and I thought it deserved better. So I was like, screw it, I'll make my own score. Whether or not I do the movie justice, I will leave that up to the individual viewer and listener. But again, I absolutely love this movie, and it was the score was done from a place of love. Now, a lot of times with, especially my horror movies, I identify very strongly with the darker characters. Um, this, though, my favorite character is hands down Ellen, and as such, she gets special treatment throughout the movie, and I will point that out as those moments happen. Okay, that part is timed to my own reading speed, so anyone who reads at the same speed as me, that crow will start cawing right after they read Deathbird at Midnight. If you hear occasional sips, I'm having a few drinks as I do this commentary. As I said, I've always loved this movie, but after working on this and watching the scenes over and over to get my timing right, I really have a new appreciation for it. Oh, there it is. I love that. This is how the story goes. Hutter and his young wife Ellen lived in Wisborg. That part always gets me just psyched for what's to come. I don't believe that's actually a bell tower, but the bell sound effects seem fitting there. This is called Lover's Theme. I've actually been playing around on my banjo with this for a while. I always thought of my late wife Sarah as I was playing it, so it seemed pretty appropriate for the enduring love between Ellen and Hutter. Okay, that heart music, that's one of Ellen's special treatments whenever we have a dissolve like that, where it comes in on her. Angelic chorus, more special treatment for Ellen. There's the angelic chorus again. I always thought it was interesting that even though this was filmed in the early 20s, Ellen has such a goth look to her. She's got the, the dark makeup around her eyes, which almost gives it a sunken look, and that pale skin. I think she is quite lovely indeed. But yet she's also so tender. Why have you taken life, Hutter? Okay, this is called a jaunty stroll. Now, I'm not actually playing the accordion. I don't know how to play the accordion. That was a sample I got from the community at freesound.org. Give them a shout out because it's an amazing community. A lot of this, oh wait, am I here? That is actually the same sample as the first part. I just spaced, put it down twice and spaced it just enough so it sounds like a different rhythm. This next piece I call Knock 3 Times. I have a lot of respect for the actor who plays Knock. He is very expressive. In the silent era, you had to be an effective actor. I mean, you didn't have dialogue to convey emotion. You had to go strictly by your gestures and expressions. And I just think that the actor playing Knock, I think he just knocked it out of the park. He already looks crazed. I already see the madness that's starting to take hold. That breathy sound right there, I think of as Orlok's influence. You'll hear it throughout the film at different points in time. Sometimes when Orlok's there, sometimes when it's just a suggestion of Orlok, or when you can see him at play, like this right here. He has obviously already set all of this in motion with Knock. Love that line there. Pause, perhaps a bit of blood. Got your foreshadowing. Now, pretty sure that the copy of this film had been spliced there because there's that sudden transition. And I originally had the laugh end at the exact same time it cut, but it just felt wrong, and so I left the full laugh in to kind of bridge the two, and I think it worked much better. There was the Orlok's presence again. You can hear it there playing in the background. Or, I'm sorry, Orlok's influence. I can't remember if I did it in the opening credits music, but here you'll see I have a tendency to really like to hold notes. Now, often there's like other notes going on in the background. Sometimes they're subtle, but I like holding those notes for some reason. It's just one of those things, I suppose. Also, my drink of choice this evening is beer, so if you hear slight belches, I apologize for that as well. There we had the double whammy on Ellen. We had the harp and the angelic chorus as we came in on her. This section I call Farewell, and it's divided into 3 parts. This part 1 is Hutter, International Man of Intrigue. And he is so excited about this upcoming journey. He's just so psyched for it. And just look at him dashing around. But look at Ellen. She is just devastated. He is just totally unaware at this point of the effect that this upcoming journey is having on his wife. That sound right there is a kind of a transitory sound, usually between Hutter and Ellen. In this case, it's transitioning us over to the second part of Farewell. Oh, angelic chorus again. But the second part of Farewell, which is called Sad, Lovely Ellen. And it's one of her themes. I think it's at least once more in the score. We'll come back to that theme. But yeah, she has more themes and motifs than anyone else in the movie, because she truly is my favorite character. She's just so lovely and so tragic, and I don't know if that house still exists, but if I ever went to Germany and it did, I would love to get a picture taken on that on those stairs there. That would be amazing. See, now he's with Ellen, and he's like kind of realizing, oh, you know, I have to leave. Wait! Another special handle. She is the only one who has any type of quote-unquote dialogue, actual words. The other characters might laugh or sigh or things like that, but she is the only one who actually has a word in the movie. Okay, and now we're transitioning back because he's separated from Ellen, and it's back to Hutter, International Man of Intrigue, Part 2. He's on his horse. He's ready for his journey again. He's kind of a dick, I think, in a lot of ways when it comes to Ellen. I mean, does he love her? I'm sure he does, but he's just not very thoughtful of her. It became more difficult for the horses. This is called Dark Tourist. I wanted the transition to be kind of jarring. Maybe I should have pumped up the volume just a little bit more. Now there I originally had the horse and carriage sounds a little bit louder, but when I was playing around and decreased the volume, it seemed more effective. And this is actually a combination on this. That little cascade you just heard right there is banjo. The distortion is my electric guitar, of course. Well, I can't really say of course. Sometimes you'll hear some things in this that sound like a guitar, but it's not really. I'll point those occurrences out as we come to them. Here you'll hear a little bit of my power noise influence. I used to make power noise and harsh industrial music under the name Dead Hooker Scenario. It mentions Orlok's name and everything, just kind of slows to a crawl for a moment. There's a couple other places in the score where you can hear the power noise, if you're familiar with that genre, come through. Dead Hooker Scenario is a lot of fun, but I am really enjoying the stuff I'm doing with ACIDGRASS a lot more. Back to that banjo cascade. That dark guitar with the darkness of speaking about the werewolf roaming the forest. Hutter scoffs. He scoffs a lot in this. There's the werewolf, quote-unquote, striped hyena. Now here in a moment we're going to see a scene that is one of my favorites in the movie. Not because it's beautifully filmed or not because of the way it's framed, but quite honestly it's because it just amuses me to no end. And we'll see it here in a moment. We're holding the cascade, the banjo cascade, so it's going to the window. Okay, right here, watch this. That horse in the bottom right hand corner, all the others are bolting and he's just like, fuck that, I'm just like moonwalking out of this scene. It does amuse me. There, very faintly, you can hear the old woman doing a Hail Mary in Dutch. And retrospect, I wish I would have brought the level up on that just a little bit further. Okay, Hutter grabs the candle, everything slows back down again, the window's shut, the werewolf safely outside. Mr. Hutter retiring for the evening. Mentions vampires, so there's Orlok's influence. Mentioning Nosferatu, so it's back to that dark guitar. They're scoffing again. One thing's horror movies have taught me, it's never, ever scoff at local quote-unquote superstitions. You will end up in deep shit every time. This one's called Rise and Shine Hunter. I wanted it to be kind of surreal to imply that he is existing somewhere between the waking world and a dream. And that's another thing you see Hutter doing a lot in this. I never realized it till I'm working on this score, how often we see this man waking up. I don't use Rise and Shine Hutter every time he wakes up. That would have gotten really old really fast. But yeah, I did want this to sound surreal, because I think this is a very surreal scene right here. You got all the horses, like, safe from the werewolf, like running back through the fields here first thing in the morning, but then you got this dude over here in a his like night shirt just running along. I understand the guys in the background corralling them, but the guy in his nightshirt just running always just struck me as kind of odd. Warlock's influence. And that little drum hit there, that'll be repeated throughout the score, usually when things hit the ground. Sometimes it's a transitory sound, but a lot of times it'll be when something hits the ground. I think this one's just a fun little number. I programmed the bass line into Fruity Loop Studio first, and as I was listening to it, I was like, this really needs kind of like a military march type of percussion to it. So I went in and added the drum programming, and overall, I'm very happy with it. I mean, I had thought about adding more horse and carriage sound effects here, but it's really an extended scene with the horse and carriage, and I think that would have been too much. Nice scenery. See, there's the horse and carriage again. Now, we had that piano strike, all is quiet, they're crossing a bridge. I see bridges as moments of transitions in this film. So as they're crossing, I was thinking, there's a moment where, will they be safe? But as they make it safely across the bridge, the music kicks back in. So, yeah, they did okay. So you see, as I've been talking, the carriage has just now stopped. So that would have been a lot of horse and carriage sound effects. So I think I did made the right call there. I love this scene coming up. There's going to be another bridge, so you're going to hear that piano strike again. Hutter scoffs again, of course, but you'll hear that piano strike again, only this time the music doesn't kick back in, because Hutter is most definitely not safe at this point. Heading over to the pass. I think this is a beautifully shot scene right here. Stops, turns. I can almost hear a narrator saying, "And he was never seen again." This piece I call Crossing Over. You can hear a lot of my love of 70s horror movies in this particular theme, I think. That bass there, for example, I had watching some documentary. I can't remember the documentary or what the movie they were talking about was, but it was a movie from the 70s, and it was talking about how the theme was basically just these same 3 or 4 notes, just repeated in different ways. So I was purposely trying to emulate that. And you hear the Orlok's influence there. That sound that's going through there, I think of it as the voice of the damned, and you will hear the voice of the damned in various forms making an appearance throughout the film. Here I hold the note again. I thought about adding something else here, maybe some other type of pad or a little run, but I just like that held note, so I didn't put it in there. But there you can hear the slight variation. Such a brilliant movie. I love this here in a moment as Hutter's walking away, where it looks like Orlok will raises his whip, like, "I will strike you if you do not go in that castle." Love this scene coming up too. once he's inside, the gates will close again. I wanted that sound to be I love the way Orlok comes out of the darkness, but I wanted that sound of the gates closing to be the sound of finality. I wanted it to be like what you would hear as your coffin lid slams shut. I just love the way that is filmed and framed. Hutter is so small at the bottom, so overshadowed by the castle. And look at this. This is beautiful. You got Hutter coming into the light. You've got the Arch of Darkness around the door, like basically framing Orlok. Then you've got the concrete indented around that. More concrete, then an Arch of Darkness over to the side. That is such a beautifully composed shot right there. It's just brilliant. And here you got Orlok. He's standing in the darkness. At this point, Hutter is still in the light. He's still framed by the light in that doorway. Okay, you hear a drum hit here in just a moment. I did this to emphasize something I thought was very interesting that Murnau did when he was directing. Hutter pauses for a moment before he follows Orlok into the darkness. He hesitated, so I wanted that drum hit just to emphasize that, you know, there was a hesitation. If he had turned back then, everything probably would have been okay. He probably would have been fine. Ellen probably would have been fine. You can hear my harmonica there. Originally there was more to the harmonica, but it got stuck on a loop point and I couldn't figure out why or how. But in the end I really like it because I think it adds to the surrealness that Hutter must be feeling at this moment. I think he's beginning to suspect that things aren't quite right in this castle. Now that sound makes me inwardly cringe, and that's why I thought it was perfect for the slicing of the thumb. Orlok's influence, so that's Orlok's theme that you hear, that kind of brassy sound. We transition here into this short little piece I call castle stalking. For the first time, you can see that Hutter is really terrified. Slowly backing away. Orlok approaching, so menacing. And he tries to make it sound very conversational, but obviously something's not right. Okay, castle stalking actually ends with this foot right there, and it transitions us over into this little, basically is this just a transitory piece. It's only used one other place throughout the film. It's very short, just takes us from one scene to another. I like how quickly it ends. Just boom. And this is Rise and Shine again, Hutter. Basically the same music box and whispering and backwards music as we had in just Rise and Shine Hutter, but Rise and Shine again Hutter is different in the environmental. There's his yawn, for example. Never really understood what he's looking at there. You can see kind of the table he looks at more clearly later. I think that yawn should have been brought down in volume a little bit. I'm imagining in the original print, before there was like, you know, degradation over the years, that you could see the bites on his neck better there. Kind of interesting when Hutter spots the breakfast. You'll see him. He leans forward, and he does that when he gets really happy and excited. See, he leans forward, and it's the exact same thing he did the first time he walked in and saw Ellen. He has that little forward lean when he's happy. Okay, this is the Castle Ground Blues. He's still within the walls of the castle, but he's out on the grounds. Very happy with this part. Now, earlier I said, I corrected myself when I said that distortion was, of course, my electric guitar. The reason I corrected is because this right here, though it sounds like guitar, this is actually my banjo ran through distortion and other effects. Got the angelic chorus, cause directly mentioning Ellen. It's actually one of my favorite pieces of music that I made for this score. And it showed the letter. I don't know if you could hear it with me talking, but there it is again, that voice of the damned. This is called Mail Call. There's a little happy little accident in this. That right there, when Hutter stops just at the end of that sound effect, it almost makes it seem like he's the Flash or something and arrived on the scene. And one thing I've always wondered about this scene is that if everyone in the area is so terrified of Orlok, why is this guy just riding by on his horse? I mean, he doesn't seem to be a mail carrier. He doesn't have a bag. He just tucks it in his shirt. But I accept it. Suspension of disbelief. Now, when I first made this song, I actually did not care for it at all. And it wasn't until I had listened to it for a while that it actually started to grow on me. I like the way Orlok's eyes just stay on the Ellen. Of course, angelic chorus. Scoops her up. Kind of like some industrial sounds going on in this. Anytime someone tells you your wife has a beautiful neck, be wary of them. And as you can tell, Hutter is he is wary here. We're getting ready to transition to one of my favorite sequences in the film. Now, this entire sequence is a rather lengthy sequence. I call this part of it Revelations. Part right there, I wanted it to sound almost like a klaxon. Still musical, but still kind of like a warning at the same time. And this transitions us into a part that I call the Shadows of Horrible Nightmares. This section of this sequence, for the most part, they kind of flow into one another. Now we see Orlok for as he truly is. Such a beautiful scene. There's that klaxon again. Hutter terrified. What the hell? No escape through the window, Hutter. Really, what else can you do? Now look at this scene. Look at this. How Orlok's framed in the doorway, the way he's lit. It's so beautifully filmed. That's really the part where the Shadow of Horrible Nightmares begin, is when we get Orlok's theme mixed in with it. At the same hour, we transition into the Somnambulist Serenade. I wanted to emphasize here how quiet it is. Quiet enough you can hear his quill. You'll probably hear me say this like a dozen times throughout this film, but she is so lovely. Quiet enough he can hear her just walking onto the veranda. She didn't even open a door. It was already open. Everything's just that quiet. The fall, the catch. Now here again we'll hear that sound of finality when she closes the door. But it's not quite as pronounced because there's still hope for Ellen at this point. I really feel that when Hutter entered the castle that pretty much hope was lost for him. There's that transition sound again, taking us from Hutter back to Ellen. I love this. Love this part. Orlok slowly turns. And then it almost seems as if Ellen and him are looking at one another, implying that that connection is there. He leaves the room with the voice of the damned. And of course his own theme there. This is a Call of the Deathbird. Not necessarily one of Ellen's themes. You'll hear it sometimes, maybe once or twice, where she's not in the scene. But a lot of times it does involve her. I love that. Her soul had heard the call of the Deathbird tonight. Already Nosferatu spread his wings. Here again, we're going to see Hutter waking up. I call this one This Time with Purpose Hutter. In the 80s, I was really into Herbie Hancock and Art of Noise, and I think you can hear the influence of them here. Maybe there's a little bit of power noise as well. Look at that, how that's framed. Beautiful. Beautifully framed. Now a reprise of the Castle Ground Blues, but also at the same time kind of a medley. This is just a great scene. Great fucking scene. Orlok's influence. This part, I was trying to bring pieces of look how beautiful that is. But I was trying to bring pieces of everything that had come musically before it, as if everything had been culminating up until this moment. So we have Call of the Deathbird again. That's just such a great scene. And this part officially ends that sequence that I said was one of my favorite sequences in the film. Not much really to say about this one. As I was doing the score, at the end of each night, I'd watch the whole thing from the beginning up until the point that I stopped. And I had a little notebook, and I'd make notes of things that I needed. So that little gasp when he first wakes up, that was in my notebook as needing to be added. But it was actually one of the very last things to be done on the score, was to go back and add that. Oh yeah, now you think of Ellen, you dick. You should have thought of that before you left her. This will take us into a very, very, very short piece I call Descent. And Descent, I think the obvious influence to me at least is the music from Eraserhead. I'm not sure how I feel about the sound effect coming up. It's better than the one I originally had. Okay, this is a kind of a palate cleanser. We got Orlok's theme there, of course, but you can hear the water. And there's not much else going on. You got the Orlok's influence, Orlok's theme, but then it fades, and I just kind of let you hear just the water for a moment as the creepy cargo, which is what that short little part's called, goes downstream. This one, we see Hutter waking up again. This one is called Fevered Dreams of a Nosferatu Hymn. This one was a lot of fun to make. I recorded myself singing each syllable of the word Nosferatu individually, and then I assigned those syllables to synthesizer notes and played around with them and added some effects to try to make it sound just slightly unnatural. And most often you'll hear that Nosferatu hymn whenever the boxes, aka coffins, are involved. This part, since it's set on a dock, I wanted the percussion to be ship's bells. I used them kind of sparingly. Thought it would have maybe been too much if it would have been more often. Now, I love the 1922, the original Nosferatu. I also love Herzog's 1978 remake. I think it was 1978. And I thought he did a really good job with this scene of recreating it, but also same time kind of making it his own. I think they're both equally brilliant films. There's the Nosferatu hymn again. There are actually a few things that I like better in Herzog's remake, not to detract from this film, but this part is horror and amazement. In horror, they looked on at the mysterious ways of nature. Now, I start the harpsichord early here to emphasize something that Murnau does in his directing. I wanted to hear the harpsichord while you're reading this to imply almost that you're standing outside of a doorway. Now the door is open, and you're standing in the doorway at a distance. You're watching this group of people. But again, from a distance. But now as they come in closer, they're all gathering around. Guess what? We gather around too. We're right there with them, looking at the fly and the Venus flytrap. We've switched from being a observer from a distance to part of the scene. And I just thought that was a brilliant bit of direction and wanted to try to emphasize that with the score. And here I use a cadence again. As he comes in, he's in uniform. A cadence seemed appropriate. The Asylum, I've noticed, often has like really high-pitched sounds associated with it. You got the triangles in this one. As if Nock is just sitting around singing. Warlock's influence, of course. I love their expressions. They're like, what the fuck? Definitely an attack of acute mania. This takes us over into a segment I call World of Wonder. That's not exactly, that right there wasn't exactly the sound that I heard in my head, but as is the case, sometimes I can't really recreate or don't know how to recreate what I hear in my head, but it was pretty close, and I'm pretty happy with that sound. We'll hear it again, like right as this one transitions out into the next bit. Almost only a phantom. And there's that sound again. This one's called Madhouse Spiders. Again, we have that. This time it's high-pitched bells. This is gonna, when we leave this, it'll take us to one of my absolutely favorite scenes in the movie, and this time it is because it is just beautifully filmed and acted. I gotta stroke that chin there. Little palate cleanser here with the seagulls and the waves. And we go into a reprise of Sad Lovely Ellen. It's just such a beautiful scene. You gotta wonder why all the crosses are on the beach. I mean, it doesn't seem to be a graveyard. It works for the scene, but I'm like, are those for sailors who are lost at sea? That's my assumption. Like I said, it works for the scene. It's just seagulls stop as the friends come over the hill because her focus is being pulled more away from the sea. Still got the waves rolling in though. Love the way the wind's just blowing her hair and her dress. You heard the angelic chorus there. See, he's a dick. He thinks she's angry that he's away. Slightly lower pitched angelic chorus. Wanted to actually hear her crying. to help further like humanize her character, make her even more sympathetic. Very short little piece on my banjo called Against Medical Advice. Okay, so we go back to Dark Traveler. These are like variations on a theme. They're shorter pieces, because you'll hear this basically when Hutter is traveling. Another palette cleanser. Very industrial sound to the lower rhythm in this. Wanted to kind of imply that that singing voice was coming from somewhere else, another cell. I love the way also that guard almost seems to dance out of the shot as he's sweeping. Plague theme, it's repeated one other time. Not quite as like clearly as this. Back to another variation of Dark Tourist. This is the Yo-Ho-Ho Dirge. I just dropped something from my chair, but this is the Yo-Ho-Ho Dirge. Because they're sailors, I thought it would be amusing to include something that actually has yo-ho-ho in it. And I was, so I wanted the yo-ho-hos. I love the way a little growl sound after him, after we see the captain, because I thought he does look very animalistic. Anyhow, I was walking, I had to go do some grocery shopping and take a break from working on this, and I was walking through Walmart and just playing around with Yo-Ho-Ho and different ways of singing it. And so the Yo-Ho-Ho Dirge actually took place in, it came to its finalized method form in the Walmart checkout. And I came home and recorded it. Just have some whiskey, or probably some rum. Everything will be okay. Drink it off, sleep it off. Sailor's cure-all. Nosferatu hymn, because of course the coffins are involved. Okay, back to another variation of Dark Taurus, but this time, you know, come on, Hutter. I mean, you're just walking your horse down a hill. You got to pick up the pace here if you want to save Ellen. Come on, is your heart in it or not, buddy? This part is called The Dark Grave. The part coming up, this of course is that same transition music we heard earlier as Hutter sank into the chair as right after castle stalking. The actors in this, they do a really great job. The mate just looks so determined. Maybe determined isn't the right word. Resigned, perhaps. He has some resignation. If I'm not back up here in 10 minutes. Well, you know what that means. Like he doesn't necessarily want to, but what else can he do? And the captain looks so fucking exhausted. It's like he could just barely has the strength to walk. I mean, the mate is tired too, but he doesn't look as exhausted as the captain. Another reprise of Call of the Deathbird. Now this is also a case where I said sometimes what sounds like distorted guitar will not be distorted guitar. In this case, I had taken the Call of the Deathbird's vocals and ran them through distortion. But it does come off sounding very much like a guitar, I think. Oh, here's the iconic shot. Filmed from such a low angle. Orlok just towering above you like you are tiny, you're insignificant. Captain's horrified. But again, you know, what can you do? Another brief palate cleanser. And that's more like a Hutter. Back to another variation of Dark Taurus. Got some speed going again. Go get 'em, boy. Got another palate cleanser. There's the harp taking us into Ellen. This is a reprise of Somnambulist Serenade. I'll say it again. So lovely. I love this. Look at the angle of her arms. When we cut over here, the angle of the ship mast. They're coming toward each other. They're coming together. Being drawn. Brilliantly done. Wanted that to be as if the voice of the damned had come through her window and woken her. But once she's awake, you do not hear the voice of the damned anymore. It's again existing somewhere between waking and a dream. Got the angelic chorus again, a little bit crazed at that time. I have to go to him. He is coming. Is she referring to Orlok? Is she referring to Hutter? I think we know. This takes us into a part called The Gathering Darkness, which starts right here. Super industrial sound coming up here in a minute, and I fucking love it. I'm like cuckoo for Skinny Puppy. Nosferatu hymn, and we're getting ready to kick into the industrial part. That right there, that guitar part, I couldn't get something I was happy with. I had like different notes and sounds, and so I eventually got to the point where I cut one of the notes off halfway, copied it, then reversed it, and then butted them up against one another to give it kind of that flowing sound, and very pleased with the way that turned out. Bring in Orlok's theme. Master's close. Voice of the damned. I love the way he just he sits on his bed like a puppy. Just like a puppy, patiently awaiting his master. Now, I gotta be perfectly honest, after that part, or this like last, last third of the movie, kind of the last act here, I feel the music up until this point actually was a lot stronger. I'm still happy with this part, don't get me wrong, but I just feel that the first two acts was a lot stronger musically. Part of the reason may be that I didn't do as many, don't even know if I did any palette cleansers in this part. Maybe that's necessary. Played around with the sound effect of the dish breaking for a long time, trying to get it to sound just right. I mean, too loud and it didn't sound realistic, too soft and it just kind of got lost in the mix. I spent more time than I care to admit just playing with different volume levels on a dish breaking sound effect. Again, courtesy of freesound.org. Thank you to the wonderful community there for allowing me to use your samples. All licensed under Creative Commons. In a lot of ways, this score is kind of a collaboration between myself and the freesound.org community. Any sound effects you hear, like rats, doors creaking, some samples. Like, I don't play violin, so when you hear Somnambulist Serenade, that's a freesound.org sample that I downloaded and played around with and modified a bit. Dark Tourist no longer applies because, he's in his hometown, so technically Hutter's still traveling, but not quite the same type of traveling. He's on familiar territory at this point, which is good because one more iteration of Dark Tourist probably would have gotten old. Reunited, but she just faints. I don't think she ever thought she would see him again. This is another piece that I didn't particularly like when I made it, and I went ahead and put it into the scene to just to see how it worked, fully expecting angelic chorus. But fully expecting to go back and have to redo this whole piece again with something different. But once it was put with the imagery, I came to like it a lot better. Another small reprise there. Klaxon warning sound. Back to the moving of the boxes. That's my understanding that those warehouses that they used on this shot, so that's really what they were, is they were warehouses and not like an actual old estate. But it's my understanding that those, at least as of a few years ago, were still standing. Yeah, another add to my list if I ever go to Germany. I'd like to visit those. Be one of those cinematic tourists. In all complete honesty, this is probably my least favorite song from the score. You hear a little bit of that 80s influence again. Rise of the Yo-Ho-Ho Dirge. You know, I also love like the 1931 Universal Dracula. I think it's a great movie. But I love Nosferatu more. I think that the inspiration it took from the novel, I think it was just better, much better executed than Dracula was. I mean, Dracula is still a great film, don't get me wrong. But I just think that this is the superior telling of the story. Or of a variation of the story, I should say. And yes, if you can't tell, I am truly beginning to fill my beers here. Fill my beers, I think I said that right. I wish I could remember that Latin there. I wish I could remember exactly what it says. Again, it came from freesound.org. Lots of shout outs to them. But it was something along the lines of like making the world like the dust of a grave or something like that. I would have to look it up because if Sarah were still alive, she'd be able to translate for me because she knew Latin. I never learned myself. Maybe this is my least favorite piece because I feel it goes on maybe just a little bit too long. That maybe I should have broken it up and transitioned it to something else, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know why, but this is definitely my least favorite piece of the music. I also wish I would have brought the levels up of the murmuring a little bit better. There I am, holding that note again, as I am wont to do. Also some Paranoise influence here. I mean, I mentioned the 80s influence as well, but it's also like that, especially with the bass drum there, is just the kicker. That's very Paranoise-y, just steady. Okay, there's that like reprise of the Plague theme. And I do not believe we hear the Plague theme anymore throughout the score. And, you know, wanted another cadence. This time, of course, it makes sense. We got a drummer coming through. Like the way we've been seeing the drummer, we're looking down on him as if we too are in one of the windows, listening to his proclamation. Which, by the way, this section is called Proclamation. And that brings us over to this little piece I call Streets of the Dead. That part sounds kind of strange now, but here in a moment it intersects with music as these group of people are carrying a coffin. And once the two blend together, I think they blend very well together, and I think it's just beautiful. Here we go, we got it coming in. I think the two just complement each other very well. Harp and angelic chorus, followed by Orlok's influence, followed by Voice of the Damned. Just realized that I used a lot of bass in this. Programmed a lot of bass music. I think it works. I think very low sounds and very high sounds both work well for horror. Hutter does not want to believe. No, no. Poor Ellen. No bridge involved, but there's that strike again, because they are not safe. He just falls, he realizes, he knows. Okay, again, that violin, because I do not play violin or fiddle, freesound.org, another shout out. The link on the on YouTube, there's a link at the bottom if anyone is curious about how many samples I actually used, samples and sound effects from freesound.org. There's a link to a document that gives a credit and links to each one of them. Sound of the Damned coming through the window again. Back to Ellen. Bass drum to just imply a funeral procession. I don't know, perhaps I could have made this piece like a little darker sounding. As I'm watching it now, it's like that little, the melody part. I don't know, it just almost sounds a little bit too happy. Am I being overcritical of the music at the end? I don't know. I just really do feel that the first like 2/3 of the movie that the music was stronger. Maybe I should have taken a break, because this, like, working on this score like literally became my world for a couple weeks. It took me a little over 2 weeks to do everything, and every time I had like even a free moment, I was working on the music. This part's Not on the Run. Not on the run. almost added an Orlock's influence here, but I thought that sound right there, I thought putting that in was sufficient. It also transitions us to this darker part of Knock on the Run. I do feel that this music right through here is sufficiently dark. I'm happy with this piece. He's just up there taunting them. Gets hit with rocks, he doesn't care. Knock don't care. Knock don't give a fuck. He's like the honey badger. No stuntman. Knock did his own stunts. And it scurries away. Back to Ellen. That's my banjo. It was hard to get her sigh exactly right. I looked through a lot of sighs on female sighs on free sounds. I call this part rabble-rousing, and because I added the sounds of the crowd, and anytime we were watching a movie together, and there were scenes of angry villagers and shit like that, Sarah would always sit there in her chair and just go rabble, 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 and so this is kind of makes me smile calling this one rabble-rousing, because it makes me think of her as I made it every time I watched it. At this point, they know it's not Knock, but they're like, fuck this scarecrow anyway. Yeah, fuck that scarecrow. Let's go get him. I want to get the scarecrow first. Fuck him. Love the way Orlock's framed in that. The square with his face, the pane with his face. Just a frame within a frame within a frame. Somnambulous Serenade. Little sigh sound when Ellen clutches her breath. I'm happy with it. I had another sound effect in there, but it just came across as way too sensual, and I did not want to sexualize Ellen that way. I almost wonder for a moment here if she's about to do something nefarious to Hutter. Orlock's exerting his influence. Ellen's resisting. Not so much. Open the window. Bring him in. He walks out of the scene, never taking his eyes off of her, even as he passes the wall. Poor Ellen, she knows. She knows what she has to do. It's one of the things that just makes her character so tragic. Get Bowler. Yes, she's not well, but honestly feel that sending him to get Bulwer was just to get him out of the room, get him out of the picture so she could do what was necessary. vibrations of the angelic chorus. That's really a great bit of animation there. Very innovative. Very innovative. I've seen other silent movies that have like animation as well, but I don't think that they gelled quite as well as this. Now again, I didn't give her, she grasped her breast here again, clutched her breast. It didn't get any type of sound effect that time because again, I did not want to really sexualize Ellen. I want to have a lot of respect for her character, and I just didn't want to do that to her. But there is that strike. A slight bugs me in retrospect. I wish I would have synced up the ticking of the clock with the actual swinging of the pendulum in the background better. That's a small thing, but it sticks with me. A reprise of The Dark Grave. Such a great shot. It reminds me of like the medieval paintings of the nightmare, like crouching upon the sleeping lady's chest as she's in bed. Call of the Death Bird, but who is the Death Bird calling this time? And look how physical like Knock was as an actor. I mean, and he's a portly man, to put it like politely. Bells as dawn breaks over the town. Also kind of a callback to the opening scene. Oh. And Orlok knows. Interesting, most vampire mythology that, you know, they don't cast reflections in the mirror. Orlok obviously did there, but well, there's a little section there as I call Daybreak, by the way. The master is dead. Back to Ellen, harp and angelic chorus with a reprise of Lover's Theme. She's so devoted to Hutter. For a moment you think everything's gonna be okay. But no. This time the Death Bird is calling for Ellen. That's a great shot. Just the way like Ellen and Hutter are framed in the background, slightly out of focus. The door making a frame around them. One of the things I said earlier was that I thought that the 1978 Herzog remake did some things better. I like the fact that he addressed what happened to Hutter afterwards, because Hutter has been bit. But that's it. That's the ACIDGRASS Nosferatu score. Thank you for hanging in there if you've watched it this far. I hope you enjoyed.